Hi, friends. Welcome to Married Money. Ooh, that's a topic for you, huh? So tonight we're going to talk about having money in the marriage because we know that that can be a hot topic for you all. And you might know me, Darla McKamey and Kevin McKamey, we're coaches. And now tonight we have special guests with us. I'm so excited to introduce. So this is Terry and Terrence. Guess what? We call him Terry and Terry, and guess what? We call him TNT for short. They are dynamite. And I will tell you, they've been married for 38 years, and so we brought a super pearl here for you. So they're going to enlighten us a little bit. Now, I know that you guys might know that finance isn't exactly my favorite thing, but I totally get it. And I'm not in debt, and I understand how to do money.
But you like money, right?
But I do like money. And I believe that good people do good things with money and that it's a tool. And so finances are numbers. It's numbers don't lie. It's spreadsheets and dollars and balance lines and green and red and, are you in the black? And exactly. And so for me, that's just snoozeville. So in our marriage, Kevin is awesome at all of that. And he volunteered when we got married. And I was like, yes. So I don't really do it hands-on every day. And I'm very thankful for that. So thank you, honey. But I know in some marriages you will have a spender and a saver. And maybe if you have two spenders, maybe that's not in balance. And maybe if you have two savers, it might not be in balance. But if one is way extreme and the other one's way extreme, that might not be a good balance either. So I know that finances is a lot of numbers and brain stuff, right? But money and married money especially is full of emotion and passion and can be a very dynamic process if you figure it out how to keep balance. So all of us coaches will be able to help with that, and we have lots of amazing tips. And we're going to start with my awesome husband, Kevin. And he's going to tell you a little bit about what we call the green gap framework for having a plan for your finances in your marriage so you can live financially free at some point. Oh, we're going somewhere.
So just keep talking, sweetheart.
Well, I can talk for a long time. So money.
Slide.
No. So technologically, we love to be up on tech things. And so sometimes we're always playing with some new
Bleeding
tech.
edge. Sometimes there's a lot of blood.
Oh, there's not. It's so fun. You guys, you get to learn new things all the time with tech stuff. So
Terry, can you see the slide?
Nope.
No.
So our little series that we're going to do, we hope that you come and join us every Wednesday evening because we plan to go live every Wednesday for the next few weeks and talk about married money because you can bring us your questions. We will have some good tips for you. We're going to really be able to talk to you about saving money, having an emergency fund. Can you see our slides?
Yeah.
Okay, so Kevin, you just go right ahead and tell them about this.
All right. Thank you, Darla.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for filling in the gaps there.
I'm a green gap girl.
That's right. Thank you for filling the gaps. Speaking of gaps, we want to talk about married money. And again, our guests are Terry and Terry Eidsville. And in case we didn't say, they are actually from Canada. And so they'll probably tell you a little bit more about their story here in a few minutes.
They
but they're
speak English.
all the way from the
and they actually have money.
That's right.
Yeah. See?
little more colorful than your money.
But we are going to be doing a series for the next few weeks about married money and about some of the difficulties that can happen when we have a spender and a saver in extreme measures, perhaps, and or two spenders especially, and maybe there's not a good balance there. So we're going to talk about some of the pitfalls, mistakes we've made. Some of our guests are going to talk about mistakes they've made, and also utilizing the green gap, how to solve those issues and those problems that arise when you make some mistakes with your money. So we keep talking about the green gap. What is the green gap? Well, the green gap process was devised by Dr. Troy Amdahl, who wrote the book with Dr. Dave Braun, ULA, Finding Balance in an Unbalanced World. And the green gap process has some steps, the first of which is to live on a monthly budget. Now, if you're saying to yourself, well, that's it for us, we can't do that one, so we're off. How much the gas bill costs, how much is your mortgage if you still have one, how much is your rent, how much are the groceries, et cetera, et cetera. And that's a very important piece of allowing the green gap process to work effectively.
How much money you make.
Right, and also how much money you make. And so once you identified how much money you make and how much money you have in expenses, then you can subtract the expenses from the income and you get a gap. And hopefully that gap is green. If you have a red gap, oh, that is not good. That means you have less money that you're making than what you're spending. And the next thing you know, you've put things on a credit card, and now you've got the credit card companies charging you interest. And so to pay that credit card off, you've got another credit card. You paid off the minimum payment on the first credit card, but now you've got another credit card that's got twice as much interest. And we're just spinning around and around and around, and it's not very good, is it? So we want to get you out of that circle of frustration to really identify the gap. And so sometimes in order to get a green gap, we have to figure out, how do we maximize the gap? How do we increase our income and decrease our expenses?
Yeah.
So that's what maximizing the gap means. Then we're going to learn how to apportion the gap. So we're going to take that gap, that green gap of real money that we have left over now, after we've earned some more income or reduced our expenses. And we are going to save part of that. We're going to pay off debt that we might have accumulated with part of that. And we're even going to keep some of it to have fun.
Yay.
And that is a big difference in the green gap process from a lot of other debt reduction scenarios that you may have heard about or might hear about in the future, is the ability to save your money, invest it, and also pay off your debt and still have some fun along the way. Many people that have this situation are still younger and they're married and they have kids. And if you don't have a little bit of fun money each month, it's kind of hard to have fun with your family. And it can be rather difficult. So we think that's an important piece. And so we will want to show you, and you'll learn how to have fun with some of your money while you're paying off your debt and also saving some for a rainy day. And then finally, we repeat that each month. So next week, we're going to talk about identifying the gap. So please be sure and come back for that episode too. But we want to move on tonight, after we see this little quote, about too many people spend money they earned to buy things they don't want, to impress people they don't really like. So you've heard of keeping up with the Joneses, right? Well, this existed all the way back in Will Rogers' day. For those of you that don't know, he's older than even Mr. Rogers. And if you don't know who Mr. Rogers, well, go ask your parents. Okay? So this has been around for a long time. This is not something new that you just created for yourself.
Yeah.
Keeping up with the Joneses is not a good way to live. And we want to teach you how to live differently this year and to learn how to actually get a green gap that you can maximize and then allow it to benefit you while you save some, work down your debt, and then still have some fun. So, some money mistakes that can happen. This is what we're going to talk to Terry and Terry about. Our first money mistake is basically just that we don't have enough education about how money works.
Mm-hmm.
And this is really something that is rampant across a lot of people. There's a lot of people who's either the school system or the college they go to or their parents didn't really teach them any education about money and how it works. And so they find themselves not using a budget every month.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be a big issue.
Yeah.
So Terry and Terry, please tell us what can happen when you aren't really educated about money and you don't use a budget.
I think you really touched on the points about where the education should come from. Education should start in the home about money. And also then there should definitely be something in school. And if you don't get it in school, it should definitely be in college or university. There should be some sort of mandatory course on money, how it works, how to use it, the pitfalls to stay away from. My own story starts in a home where money was always stressful. We never had an allowance as kids. And I think that was a big thing, because if you don't ever have an allowance, then you don't even have money to actually handle, to actually make any good decisions about. So I came into our marriage with zero education and a lot of anxiety over money. So budget, I didn't even really know the word as to that it would be anything that we should do as a married couple.
No, money was something that we needed in order to buy things, and in our generation, there was this magic concept that, hey, you can, as long as you have some money, you would be eligible for plastic money, and then you could buy anything you wanted, and it was fantastic.
Right.
Until the chickens came home to roost.
Yeah.
And that's how we started off.
Yeah. So we never ever did a budget when we were first married or when we had little kids. Did your family do a budget growing up?
The budget was, do we have enough for food? And is the mortgage is paid? And no mortgage or no budget.
And if we don't have enough for food, well, we just go hungry, right, Terry?
No, mom and dad were pretty good about that. That's for sure. But there wasn't a lot left over. To their credit, they balanced it. But I don't know if they were brought up, in any different way than they brought us up. They were frugal, and they did as best as they could. But yeah, we didn't have a budget that I was aware of.
Right. Super. All right.
What about using credit cards for purchases? I know sometimes people pay this bill with a credit card and then they pay another bill with that credit card, and then it's like, or you know how you have a deck of playing cards to play a game? Some people's wallets look like
my goodness,
a deck of credit cards. So what did you guys learn about using credit cards, and what's your advice for others to use credit cards?
Well, coming from my background, getting a credit card was like magic. Like it was literally like, what? And no concept really. it's kind of like if you've ever heard the funny story about, a lady kept writing checks, and then the, police came to arrest her, and she's like, well, you're writing fraudulent checks, but I haven't run out of checks yet. So it's kind of like, just like to have no concept really of money and how it works or whatever. And yeah, that was a big mistake early in our years, for sure, was living beyond our means. And why we could live beyond our means was because of easy credit. So was definitely, if we could go back in time, we would tell ourselves, we'd rip them out of our hands and rip them up.
Or at least have a plan.
Right.
And, just to build on what Terry Roos said, if you've ever watched that movie, Catch Me If You Can, that really sums it up. I mean, it was at the beginning you thought, well, this is intentional fraud. But if you look at the culture behind the husband, I believe he didn't think he was doing anything wrong. And after a while, that was acceptable. And like you said, I mean, you just had to write, you just had to make new checks and away you go. In their case, they were being totally fraudulent. But in our case, of course, again, we didn't have a plan for anything other than, well, we do need to make some payments on credit cards before they phone us or before we got in trouble. So that was about the only plan we had at the very beginning.
And then I remember some credit cards will actually send you checks. Super bonus, right?
Right.
You have a check to pay,
pay off your other credit cards.
Off your credit cards so that you can put it on this credit card. And
my goodness.
I know that you guys had 4 kids, right? Yeah. And we had 6. And I'll tell you what, they started getting mail for credit cards when they were in high school.
Wow.
Yeah. Incredible. So our culture is just all wrapped around that. For sure.
Instant food and instant credit.
Right.
And big consequences for both.
Yes. So that was our beginnings.
Okay. So what about investing? You said you guys didn't invest in savings when you were younger. So what kind of things are you having to do now to make up for that?
Right. Yes. I know that Terrence did have a bit of a you had like a matching pension early on in his career. And I know that we did do that. But then like literally just like having a savings account or saving for things was just, I was in way too much of a poverty mindset where it was just like, well, we don't have any money to do that. We need to just survive. And so being in survival mode is not helpful with finances. Like you really got to get the mindset right, fixed too. So yeah, like even to save for things, it was kind of like, well, that sounds painful and long where we could just have it now. Right. So yeah, we didn't really do too well in savings or investing. It was always kind of like the last priority.
Yeah, it was an interesting topic, but never a priority. And so like Terry Roos said, there was a matching RRSP plan that I had signed up for and didn't even understand when they said to me when I first started it, this is locked in until you're 65. And I said, oh, okay, well, that's no big deal. And I actually tried to redeem that a couple of times for priority problems. And no, it's locked in. So thank goodness for that. So, but anyway, so our investing was at an all-time low. And again, that speaks of, again, no plan at the beginning.
But I think we're investing now, and we have invested in other things just really by the grace of God over our married lives. We have some good real estate investments, and so we're good. We're good, but we're definitely not like the people who in 5 years from now we're just gonna hang everything up and live off of our millions that have accumulated since we were 20. That doesn't exist.
Not yet, anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And for those of you that probably don't know, the author of the book, ULA, Find Balance in an Unbalanced World, Dr. Troy Amdahl, as we said, who again devised the Green Gap system.
Mm-hmm.
He was over $755,000 in debt. And he and his wife, Chris, decided early on in their marriage to follow this Green Gap process. And so they were saving some of their money each month and paying off their debt as much as they could and following the process. And then also having some money to have fun with their young kids, because they had 5 kids too. And then he was actually able to retire at age 42.
Yeah.
Because he did that early on in his life.
Yeah.
So if you're in that situation and you have accumulated a whole bunch of debt, credit cards, mortgage, etc. right now, college loans,
Mm-hmm.
it is possible to get out of it.
Yeah.
There really is hope for you. And we can help you do that. So we hope that you'll join us here next week also, and in the coming few weeks, where we'll actually delve into this Green Gap process a little bit more and talk to some other guests and see what they had to do as well. Terry, are there anything else you would like to leave our audience with tonight?
Oh, thanks for watching, and thanks Kevin and Darla for hosting us. And I think everyone should be looking into this Green Gap. Doesn't matter where you are in your finances or your age. Never too late, never too early.
That's right.
That's right. And to build on that, don't beat yourself up.
Right.
Like you say, Kevin, there's always a way, there's hope.
Mm-hmm.
There's, as long as you're willing to commit to a plan, either by yourself or if you're married or partnered together. I think that's the most important thing I can leave you with, is commit to discussing it. Commit to communicating as a couple without the stress, and just, you really have to be in unity on that one. And that's what we found anyway. Yeah. So we'll be looking forward to the rest of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys so much for being our guest tonight.
Yes, thank you.
And thank you, audience, for being involved in our presentation. And we'll see you here next week. Look for the promotion of that over the weekend. Take care now.
Good night.
Good night. Thanks.